I think as well, one of the areas we wanted to cover was, society will tell us what a family looks like,
Yeah,
and if you don't meet that family structure, like you should feel funny.
right.
And I think that's quite a difficult thing, really, for a lot of people and make people feel uncomfortable straight away.
Yep.
Because, I think now more than ever, we realize there's so many different people that fall into different categories. So, for both me and Amanda, we've both got similar situations in that, we both come, like, we've got children to other, I can't even think of how to express this. Yeah. Well,
Well,
we're both divorced and we both have, like split care of our
yeah,
children. There you go.
co-parenting or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, so that was a situation that was hard because I had to figure out, as I imagine you did too, how do you do the whole single parent thing? You don't have someone immediately there to kind of counsel you through the difficult situations, or, like if your child's having a meltdown and you
Yeah,
don't have
true.
someone else there, how do you react to that? Which can be really tricky, especially if you're out in public.
Yeah.
Um, And then, yeah, just more broadly, I suppose families could come in so many different sizes,
Right.
or in different forms.
Yep.
But we kind of still have that stereotypical view, I suppose, of like mum and dad and the perfect nuclear family kind of thing.
Right. Yeah,
Hmm.
exactly. Well, and I guess it kind of tags on to what you're saying is like you hear this all the time that people stay together for the kids, like a married couple will stay together for the kids, and then they'll almost try to like shame you for separating when you had kids. And in my experience, and I know sometimes, obviously every situation is completely different, and that's why you shouldn't judge anybody for what their decision is and what works for their family. But I just cannot imagine it being good for the kids to live in an environment where they know their parents do not, they probably still love each other in a way. So I don't want to say they don't love each other, but they don't love each other in that way. They don't love each other in a husband and wife way. They don't, kids know that. I mean, kids definitely pick up on all that. So in that situation, I think they're both not necessarily good for the kids. It's not good for the kids for you to divorce, but it's also not good for the kids for you to be in an unloving relationship and maybe bickering at each other all the time and maybe undermining each other all the time. And even a lot of times, I think what happens too is that, the kids get stuck in the middle and they feel like they have to pick sides and all this stuff.
Mm.
So I guess that's something that's always bothered me when I hear people say that. And that when people try to impress that expectation on someone else that, oh, you should stay together for the kids. And it's like, I feel like in our situation, and again, this isn't going to be everybody, but I think Emma is much better off for us having separated, because I'm a much better person now than I was then. And her dad is a much better person now. Unfortunately, we happen to bring the worst out. We're both good people, but we happen to bring the worst out in each other. And we were
Mm.
both kind of dimming each other's light or something, if that's like a cheesy way of saying
Yeah.
it. And now we're both doing really good. And we wouldn't have gotten there so she has that now where she can see that. And we wouldn't have gotten there if we would have stayed together.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's like, it's not that cut and dry.
I think you're right. Similar situation here. I feel it's so much better for Rose.
Mm-hmm.
And initially, it was a bit of a difficult situation because she was so young. It would be like, why are we not staying with mum? And occasionally she'll ask those questions like, why are you and mum not together anymore?
Yeah.
And I'll have to kind of talk through that. But like, I think both of us are like way better off and feeling a lot more comfortable in ourselves.
Yeah.
So, like initially it's going to be a struggle and it'll feel like it's better to stay together. And you've also got that societal pressure on you, but you want to break that because it will, in the long run, make things so much better.
Right.
Like I don't think I would have been like on the journey I've been in learning how to be a dad. Like I feel like a good dad, because I've had to like work through a lot of difficulties and figure things out on my
Yeah,
own.
right.
And I think that's kind of helped me and Rose bond a lot more. So I think,
Yeah, I bet.
yeah, it's just that real poisonous societal belief,
Yeah,
stay together for the kids. And it's like, well, I don't think that's a good idea.
right. Well, and I will add one thing to that, just to couch it a little bit,
Mm,
because Emma was very young too when Matt and I separated. I've never said his name, I don't think, but his name's Matt.
yep.
He wouldn't mind. He would definitely not mind me using his name. So, um,
Yeah.
when we separated, she had just turned 2. I mean, it was within like a month of her second birthday, and she doesn't remember us ever being together.
Yeah.
So, so I guess it's easy for me to say don't say together for the kids, but I acknowledge the fact that it would be much harder if the kids were older and they actually
Yeah.
knew what was going on. I do understand that that's a much harder decision to make at that time.
Mm, good point. Yeah.
And then, but yeah, and it's just so hard because you see so many people too that do pit the kids against the other parent and all that, and that's just so sad to me. Luckily, we have never had that.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes it successful, because because I still call us a family. Like I call Matt and his partner, they're part of my family. We're all a family. And so the point I was trying to make there, now we're getting off track, but is in the beginning, we were obviously not getting along because we were separating and there's all kinds of stuff going on. However, when it came to Emma, we always agreed, or we were always respectful to each other when it came to Emma and making decisions for her and what was best for her. And so if you just focus on the kids and not focus on your own ego, I guess, because it is easy to focus on your ego when you're going through that situation. I think that's what gets you through it, so that you can get to the point where the separation is better for the kids.
Mm,
But
yeah.
I guess that's the key, though, because it's not going to be better for the kids if you're not putting them first.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and on the flip side, I mean, separations and stuff can be hard. You hear some horror stories of what parents go through. And
Mm-hmm.
I know of, a mate that I used to work with who, he lost a court case with his ex-wife, and she took his firstborn to another state, and he
Gosh, I
had no
know.
control of that, and he was heartbroken, like,
Right.
because he loved his kids. And it was a situation where his ex-partner used a lot of things, like would collect all this information,
Yeah.
which out of context might look damning,
Right.
and basically use that as a means to push him out of his daughter's life. And
Yeah.
that's really, really tough. So, I think, like yourself, I feel really blessed that I'm in an amicable situation.
Right.
I also really do feel for anyone out there who is not in that situation. And 'cause it must
Well, and
be
I've experienced both, because my husband Dan, so not to be confused with my ex-husband Matt,
yeah.
my husband Dan, him, and I won't give details because that's not my business to give, but I will say that him and his ex-wife do not get along at all.
Mm,
And he had to fight for custody of his kids. He fought to have more than 50-50 custody. And there are a lot of reasons he did that. But point is, it is really sad to me that, I mean, it's just the way it is. But men do kind of get screwed over when it comes to custody issues. He
yeah.
ended up having to go to court. He spent a ton of money. I think he said he ended up spending like $15,000, when it was pretty dang obvious that he should have had more custody of the kids than she should have.
Yeah.
And anyways, and if it was flipped the other way around, a woman wouldn't have to go through that effort to prove herself the way that he had to, all the hoops he had to jump through to prove himself.
And I think that's such a good point too. And we know in so many other instances, men have always probably got it like in favor of them.
Yeah.
We won't even go there. That'll be another episode.
Well, yeah.
But,
no, I know.
but
It's kind of the reverse. I
it
know.
is.
I'll have all the feminists after me, like, what are you talking about? Men have everything
No,
else.
but I totally agree. I think my experience, dealing, for example, with the child support agency here,
Yeah.
is I almost don't like contacting them because I feel like, that I'm just a piece of crap. Like,
Okay.
just things that some of the people I've spoken to have said make me feel like I'm just this deadbeat dad who doesn't want to pay any like child support or anything.
Right.
And it's like, no, I want to pay what I need to pay. I'll go above that, and I'd be happy to, like at the end of the day, the child comes first. Like whatever the child needs,
Right.
you need to consider that. But like, I just find that child support, here is just very like, if you're a man, it's like, oh, you're doing the dodgy, aren't you? You're dodgy. You don't want to pay.
Yeah,
And
I
there
can
will be
imagine.
people out there. I know there will be, but like, it just sucks that still there's this big structure that's just so like condemning, I think, to men. So I think that needs to be looked at. I think there needs to be in every system there needs to be equality, and there shouldn't be this assumed kind of belief that all men are evil and trying to like stooge their respective partners out of money.
No,
Which I
exactly. Unfortunately, I know there's that stereotype still out there, but yeah, and I guess some of it I think just takes time to change, and I don't know how we got on this bandwagon, but that's cool. We'll take it. But some of it just takes time to change because it's like the mindset is still in the days when primarily the woman stayed home with the kids and the man worked. Well, it's not like that anymore. And obviously there are cases like that, but now there's a lot of times that the husband or the man stays home or they're both working, and it's like, but the legal system hasn't caught up to that and acknowledged that the father has just as much a role in the child's life. And even more important, I don't know, of course I'm a female, so I only know the female perspective really, but I'm just thinking of how important a father's role is in a daughter's life and how much that affects how she treats herself or allows herself to be treated later. And so just thinking of that, it's like you just keep this cycle going when you're not letting the father have that relationship that he needs to have with both kids, but definitely with the girl or the daughter. Gosh, it's just going to perpetuate a cycle where the daughter is going to end up with someone and end up like some bad person end up getting divorced. And then, it's just the cycle just keeps continuing because we can't figure out.
Break the cycle. Yeah.
So we try to let the dads in a little bit.
Yeah. I totally agree.